Little bit earlier, but welcome to Red Zone Sports. We ditched that Raider fan here on the show, and we are ready to win this week. Jim, how you
Yeah,
feeling?
I feel great. Joe's on suicide watch, I think, for the debacle that is the Raiders. I feel like every year he's already back to the NFL hat. So when he's back on next week, you'll see the shield hat is back out, and I think that probably could be it for Joe's Raider fandom.
Yeah,
If
not
they
not
trade
such
Devontae, he might just fucking full sail pack it in.
it's just got to be a rough life that has been chosen. Like
Yeah,
you have optimism, not only so like then they come out of the gates. They get smoked by Carolina and Andy Dalton, and then the week after Devontae Adams, possibly their first or second best player, requests a trade. Like
I mean,
it's week 5.
I just don't even know what to like. I don't even know how we got there. It's just pretty wild right now. So
It's really a beautiful thing. But we are not concerned with that. We are
no,
concerned with trying to
no.
win some money. And you obviously have been pretty hot in the streets here. I took down 2Gs a couple weeks ago, so I think we've had a pretty good start to the season. If I
Yeah.
might say so myself.
Yeah, I haven't taken down anything yet, but the 2 second places was almost 4,000 between the two for showdown there. And then we've gotten close on the main slate a couple of times. Amari Cooper's touchdown doesn't get called back for a phantom holding call this past weekend, and we're looking really good. Played a little bit of Justin Fields, which ended up, going really well for me. Weirdly, it was just some things I looked at kind of at the last second and decided to plug him in a few, and he just absolutely fucking smashed. So we'll be looking for one of those hopefully again this week. And yeah, feeling pretty good about the slate. 10-game slate. I kind of like these a little bit because they get condensed down a little bit and just like forces you naturally to shrink your player pool because there's just like you can't play everybody. And so I kind of like these like 10-game slates where there's not just easy value all over the board. Especially this week too. The last few weeks at running back, especially, like there's been all kinds of value. Like you can pretty much play anybody. It's not really the case this week. There's a couple of guys cheaper, but it's the pricing is definitely much tighter this week, so it's going to force you to make some choices. I've been playing around with some stuff. I like it. I like where the pricing is, and I think that we'll be able to find some good spots. But it's definitely not going to be one of those weeks where it's just kind of easy.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree with you. I mean, I think, when you start stretching to like the full slate, the Monday night games have been kind of nice having a double Monday night. So you don't get the full, 14 gamer or whatnot. But I'm with you. I think the 10-11 game is a real sweet spot with some buys. It forces people to make some different choices. And
yeah.
I'm with you. I think, as far as this week goes, it's kind of interesting. This is by far the smallest player pool that I have. And maybe that's just because, we're starting to get more information and data on things. But, I'm excited about this week.
Big quarterback pool this weekend for you?
I do not. I have 5 guys that I'm interested in playing. Maybe you'll talk me into a few more, but let's just hop to it. With that being said, up top, where are you looking? So any of these guys above 7K this week?
Yes. So it's kind of a toss-up for me right now. I think I'm going to go back to Josh Allen after he burned everybody. I kind of went back through the last couple of years, and there's a lot of correlation with people either smashing on a primetime slate and then just going way over-owned on a main slate the following week. And then there's also that correlation of a team getting dominated and guys just not doing very well and then going back and just hammering. I mean, if you look at Josh Allen's, point totals this year, he's got 2 games under 10 points and 2 games over 30 points. So,
just insane.
I mean, and that is the perfect. We're talking about GPPs. That's the perfect GPP player for me, right? He's going to be like 2% owned. People are, they're playing on the road in Houston, blah, blah, blah. I mean, Houston's looked okay, but I mean, they had to come back last week and barely win that game. So, they're definitely not like the most well-rounded team. I think you can exploit Houston, especially through the passing game. But it's one of those things too, where I don't think you have to get crazy with Josh Allen this week and stack him with a whole bunch of people. You could play him by himself or just like with one guy and then go from there. But the reason I do really like him is his stacking options are cheap, right? On a week where we just talked about it, it's kind of hard to find value. His stacking options are relatively cheap. Now, if you are going to choose to stack him, I think you're going to have to probably play a couple of lineups and mix and match. But yeah, I'll bite on Josh Allen again this week and see where it takes me. Where are you going up top here?
That's where I'm looking to. I mean, it's just very clearly, like, in my opinion, he has the biggest upside. I mean, I think you could also obviously look to Lamar up there,
Sure, yeah.
Same environment, but I do fear quite a bit. And I guess you could say the same for James Cook, taking some of his rushing, but you got to worry about the Derrick Henry factor, with Lamar. And
I'm actually of the mind where I would rather play Lamar this week than Derrick Henry.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm just saying, like, you do lose some potential, like, red zone rushing touchdowns. And we've seen, sure. I think the Ravens, especially, like, if they're running the ball at a good clip, they're just going to stick with it. I think we always bag on coaches for, like, overcomplicating things when it's unnecessary and it, like, costs teams, fantasy, but also just wins in general. Like, that's the one thing you could say about Baltimore. They typically won't overthink things if it's working, right? So if you think Derrick Henry is in play, then obviously, you got to be a little bit concerned about Lamar. But I'm with you. Josh Allen up top is my favorite for sure. For all the reasons you said, I don't really need to rehash it. Going down a little bit, the guy that I have probably the most interest in, and I know you do as well, is Jordan Love. We saw him in the second half of that game really get loose and get going. I think the Rams we've seen are very gettable on the defensive side of the ball. I just love it. I love this game environment. I do think the Rams can score a little bit and hopefully keep this thing close, but they're on the road. It's in a dome. He's got his full arsenal of weapons. I plan to be double stacking it in a bunch of different ways, but Jordan Love for me coming off, 1 week to kind of get his feet back into things after the injury. I like Jordan Love quite a bit here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like him a lot. It's just one of those things where, the type of their offense just kind of comes alive when, Vin's moving around. The offense just kind of comes alive when he's in there, right? They have so many powerful weapons. I like the stacking options. They're not overly expensive. There's going to be a little bit of ownership there, but it's not to the point where it's going to scare me off. I can get different in other spots, but yeah, Jordan Love is definitely a guy I'm going to try and get to this week, but in that like mid-range, I'm going to go to Purdy.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my top three this week.
So, it's a division game. For whatever reason, the Niners usually don't play very well against the Cardinals. Cardinals always play them tough, right? Now,
they really struggle to stop the Cardinals, so it makes 100%. For very competitive games.
Now, the Cardinals don't have a very good pass rush this year, which is really nice for, an opposing quarterback. The difficult part is with the San Francisco offense is who do you stack him with, right? So that's kind of my biggest like question mark, and I'm gonna have to play around with it a little bit. But he's getting squeezed right there where you've got like Love at like 12%. Anthony Richardson is, if he plays, he's got 14% ownership right now. I want none of that. And then Geno Smith, obviously, here's that correlation where he had a smash fucking game, the other night in that shootout with the Lions, and then now people are going to go back to flock to him to play him. So, yeah, I'm going to be getting to quite a bit of Purdy at 6,200. If people don't really, if you go and look at the stats too, we want to play running quarterbacks. We want to play running quarterbacks. Purdy's averaging 28 and a half yards rushing per game so far this year. That's almost a full touchdown, right? He's, I believe, second in the NFL in passing yards right now. So people are understanding that, hey, Christian McCaffrey's not there. We're going to load the box, and we're not going to let you do this little dink and dunk shit. If you want to beat us, you're going to have to beat us over the top. Now, the Niners are 2-2, right? But they've definitely had to throw the ball a lot more this year and deeper. His average depth of target is first in the NFL. His average depth of target completed is third in the NFL right now. So not only is he stretching the ball down the field, but he's completing those passes, right?
Yeah.
So Debo, he played last week, didn't need to play a whole lot. That game was never really in doubt. But I think, I like him this week. If you want to play some Ayuk to see if maybe he gets off the schneid a little bit, go back to Jennings. I think Juwan Jennings is playing the best football on the 49ers right now from the receiving core standpoint. So you can go ahead and play him. But at 6,200 in a game that I think is going to be a lot higher scoring than a lot of people think, I definitely think it goes over the 49 total. So, yeah, Purdy is going to be my guy in that little mid-range area there.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I also love the fact that we've seen it pretty much every game here that even if Jordan Mason gets his, we've seen Purdy get there. It's not like it's an either or situation where we've seen some of these other quarterbacks, the run game's clicking. They'll stay fairly balanced overall. And you kind of pointed out, he's so efficient that even if he doesn't throw the ball 35, 40 times, he can still get there with 240 yards and 3 touchdowns on 22 attempts.
100%.
It's not out of the possibility. So
he's usually good too for a couple of rushing. I think he had 6 rushing touchdowns last year. Maybe he had 5. But, through 4 weeks, he hasn't had one yet this year. The Niners have not been great down in the red zone, too. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him maybe run a little bit in the red zone this week against a Cardinals defense that just isn't very good.
I can see that for sure. And the only other guy that I'll kind of nominate in here is just the cheaper side of that game we talked about. The Joe Burrow side of the Bengals. Look, I know they still quite haven't hit full cylinders yet and rocking and rolling, but someone else on one of the other shows pointed out that for whatever reason, when these two teams play, they really do score a lot of points. Joe Mixon's not in the mix anymore for this team, so I'm not too fearful of the running back situation there. And again, you have very clear stacking options. And if you want to double stack it up, Higgins is not super expensive. Yoshi Voss is not expensive. Gesicki's not expensive. You could go double stack with Chase and Burrow, no problem there. And you have clear bringbacks to the Ravens. So I'll definitely have some pieces there as well. But those are kind of all the guys I'm on as well.
Well, and if you look at it too, the Ravens on the road, not that great, right? So they play much better at home, I think. If you just go back over the last few years, their offense, especially the Bills game, once it gets rolling at home, it just kind of rolls, right? They have a really good atmosphere there. But they're playing at the Bengals. They're coming off of a pretty big emotional win. I think it's a game, and especially with the Bengals side of it with Burrow, that a lot of people kind of probably won't go to. And the Bengals are just kind of throwing the ball a lot right now. It's a lot of quick passing. It's a lot of screens and stuff like that. Chase Brown really lit it up last week, getting the ball a little bit more than Zach Moss. But Zach Moss's 1 touchdown last week came on a pass. So, they're not, their offensive line is not very good. So they're throwing the ball a lot down toward the red zone. They've got dynamic playmakers, and you could stack him with one of the other guys and be completely fine. So, I like that. So, anybody down low who you're getting dirty with this week?
Not really, man. After analyzing the slate, there's a few really high totals. I talked about it this week or last week even. I know you can get there, but most of these guys, I'm just going to play the stacking option too. So for example, like I've always been the mindset, like if you're going to play Daniel Jones, like just play Neighbors. Like he throws it to just Neighbors, or play with Neighbors and Wandale, but you don't have to play Danny Dimes with him. So I don't know if that's where you're leaning going into, Seattle, but I'll let you have the floor with your boy.
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm going. I mean, if you take a look at what Daniel Jones has done, we beg and plead. It's the complete opposite of what we were just talking about with the Niners offense, right? It's like, man, you've got Debo and all of these guys. Like, who is he going to go to? If you look at the concentration of the target share between Neighbors and Wandale Robinson, I mean, and even if I think Neighbors is going to play, but even if he doesn't play, just play Danny Dimes and Wandale, and then you have such easy run backs on the other side. It's True. Kenneth Walker and it's DK Metcalf, right?
Yeah.
And again, Geno got there because it was a high-scoring game, right? But there's definitely a situation against a bad team like the Giants where, Geno is everyone's playing Geno off. And I'm not arguing that Geno can't put up fantasy points, but if you look at the Ravens game, right? Everyone thought, Lamar was going to go off on that game. They just get Derrick Henry running the ball,
right?
And that's the offense for the night. Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. So it could be the same kind of thing. If you want to get really weird, you could play Danny and the Giants, and then you could play the 2 Seattle running backs, right? If they just say, fuck it, like we're just going to run the shit out of the ball at home and beat these guys. Yeah. It might be definitely a cool way to go that not a lot of people are going to go there. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing Daniel Jones this week. The nice part is, 3-4% owned. I'd much rather play Daniel Jones than a 4% Bo Nix. So
yeah, the only thing I'll kind of cap it off with, as much as I bag on Daniel Jones, it's 2 game theory things that I think nobody talks about a lot. Is one, you're going to take the opposite side of what might be like a chalk offense and stack, You're going to still get pieces of that stack, but you're not going to be playing the quarterback with it. So that makes you different. And you're going to be playing a team that should be trailing, positive game script, the throwing, all that kind of stuff, which again, we always talk about. You want to play the favorites because you're like, oh, they're going to win and score a bunch of points. Like we saw how that went on Thursday night. Luckily, I had some of him. You didn't, but you play Seattle, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a shootout, and Kenneth Walker scores 3 times, and it's like, oh damn, like
yeah, but it gives you a little bit more of a peek into the identity of Seattle's offense too. That like even in blowout games, like they're gonna keep running the ball where they're trailing, right? So in a game where they're supposed to win at home, like what do you think they're gonna do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's probably why I won't be playing any Geno this week. If Geno scores 35 and beats me, then I'm going to have other pieces of that game, but I'm just not going to be playing any Geno this week. He's going to be a fade for me at the quarterback position.
Okay, fair enough. What about running backs? What do you like in kind of, let's say, I don't know, low 7s and up? Do we have any 8K running backs? I don't have the slate in front of me here.
We're close. We've got Derrick Henry at 7,800. So we've got the 7,000 and up range, right? So we've got James Cook, A-Chain, Mason, Williams, Taylor, and Henry. So they have Mason is in right now. I don't think he's playing this week.
You mean Taylor?
Or I'm sorry, Taylor is in. I do not think that he is playing this week. I'd be very shocked if he played this week, and I probably wouldn't play him just because you have that risk of re-injury. My favorite, up in this upper range is actually the lower part of this range, and it's James Cook. They had a really tough game last week. Again, it's a recency bias thing where they got completely just smashed, and he really wasn't even a factor in the game. Buffalo couldn't do anything on offense. Again, Houston, not super scared of their defense. For a guy that we have already seen it this year and we know that he can put up a 30-point game, to get him, at a sub 10% ownership and what I think is a really good game environment, that's probably my favorite play from up here. Obviously, Mason is going to be the obvious one, but he's now $7,400.
Yep.
Okay. Shows up in the optimal a lot, but he's going to be pushing 40+% owned. Okay. So, not that I don't like Jordan Mason, but he is extremely touchdown dependent, and he's gotten there every single week, right? He got some receiving last week, 2 catches for about 37 yards, but 137 yards, if he doesn't get into the end zone at $7,400 and 40% ownership, that's not going to get you there, right? So, like,
yeah.
if you like Jordan Mason this week, you really have to take a stand and play like 80% of him, or else it's just not going to happen, right? So
Fair
in
enough.
that top range, I think James Cook, sticking with my Buffalo lean there to bounce back, I think he's my favorite at 7,000.
Okay, cool. Up here, I think the guy that I'm leaning the most towards is Kyren Williams. We've just seen the Rams. Obviously, I know people want to continue getting cute, as I am guilty of as well, with the receiving options and mixing in tight ends. But this is a guy like they're just totally leaning on. He had another 19 carries, 4 catches last week. I just think he is going to continue being the focal point of the offense. I already talked about how I like Green Bay in this matchup. It's not going to obviously take Kyren out. They will just continue using him.
Right.
They will use him every down and give him the rock in the red zone. And they will use him in the passing game a lot. So, I mean, the guy's already got 6 touchdowns on the year. I'm just going to continue playing that. And like you said, I don't know how many people are going to go double barrel up top running back. So I can't imagine Kyren is going to be too highly owned because he's sandwiched between Derrick Henry and Mason, but maybe I'm wrong there.
Right now, it's Wednesday night, right? He is getting about 25% ownership. So
okay, not 40, but it's not nothing either.
No, but again, if you're game stacking that game, again, this is where you kind of have to get different in a few spots, and putting all of the players from that Green Bay game and the Rams game in there together. Not a lot of people are going to be comfortable doing that. So if you do that, I'm definitely going to be playing some Kyren with you.
Or like you said, like that's where you play your Kyren Williams or your JP Mason in your Danny Dimes stack, because no one's going to have that. And you bring it back with DK, and then you just play your chalk running backs, because no one's going to play Daniel Jones with that build. Right. Yep. So that's how you kind of look at it. Below that, we already touched on the guy. That I'm just a gigantic Kenneth Walker mark ever since his college days. Like every time he's healthy, I just play him. He's starting to get up there in price, but I just don't really care. Like the guy's just so explosive. Like I don't expect them to go for 33 points again, 34. But again, like 20, 25 is like kind of where he's always at, but we've seen him. He has the chance to nuke slates. And it should be a pretty good game environment up in Seattle on Sunday.
Here's the thing that I don't really understand is that he's only projected for about 12% ownership.
Yeah, that's just crazy to me. Like if that's the case, there's a shot I'll have like 80% Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I just don't see why not.
The one concern with him, and I'm knocking on wood here, is like he does get banged up a lot. He does. And I'm a little bit, I have some scars still healing, or some wounds healing from last week where I was about 60% Rashee Rice. That really sucked, but you can't play like that. Like you just have to assume that your guy's going to be fine and good to go. So I'm just going to be chalking up and riding with Kenny Walker.
Yeah. I actually don't have really anybody else in this mid-range. I've got some interest in Josh Jacobs just because I think that if you're not going to play Love, I think you can play Jacobs and just play that, he gets kind of back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
But a guy I like quite a bit, his usage went way back up after everyone thought that, Foreman was going to be the guy. It's Jerome Ford, right? He's 5,800. There's not a lot of value on this slate. So 5,800 is going to be like your value running back. Okay. And if you're forcing me to pick between Jerome Ford and let's see, who's the other guy who's getting just like a massive, DeAndre Swift. Okay. DeAndre Swift right now is carrying about 23% ownership.
Yeah, that's
I
insane.
don't care.
I'll full fade that.
I don't care that he had that big. He fucking sucks. Okay. He had that one good run last week. That's fine. I will play Jerome Ford all day long. And there's another guy down here who's less than 1% owned that I'm going to play a lot of. And if you watched the game, and if you've been watching some Ravens games this year, you know that Justice Hill is a legitimate large piece of that offense.
Yeah.
And on a week where value is really hard to find, I'm more than okay playing Justice Hill at $5,300 this week. And a nice little bet if you're betting some props out there. Anytime touchdown scorer, Justice Hill, I've seen anywhere from plus 185 to plus 215, right? So if you just want to make a little bet, I think that's a really easy one to get 2-1 on your money on, because he's going to get used. And if we talk about it earlier, right, where if we think that this game is not so much of just a slog it out game, where we think it's a little bit more back and forth, like even in the blowout game last week, Justice Hill had 20 plus points. Okay. Like Derrick Henry, he can't handle that amount of carries every week. They're trying to win a championship. Justice Hill is a dynamic change of pace player. I really like him at 5,300 this week, and he might be – the cool part about it is now that I'm looking at the ownership and seeing sub 1% owned, you don't have to play 30% Justice Hill. You can play 10% and be 10x the field, and he really makes a lot of things in your lineups work this week. So I really like that.
Yeah. A few of the guys that I have interest in that are kind of down here in this lower range, I'll kind of go to the top, but I'm going to keep playing Chuba Hubbard. It took me a while to come around on him. The guy just gets use, and he's productive and he's good. I couldn't believe it. Red Zone channel flipped over last weekend and I saw Miles Sanders get a carry and I was like, what in the world is going on? However, it was like 2 carries he had on the day. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about that. It's Chuba Hubbard in that backfield all the way.
Well, he just gets so much work in the passing game too. Right?
He's involved. So he's a main piece. And with Andy Dalton, running a real offense, it's much more productive. So
little check downs. Yeah, I like that.
The other guy, Justice Hill, you talked about who I like, but I also like the other guy in that game who's kind of their pass catching back, but that's Chase Brown at 5,600. Yeah, sure. He got more usage finally last week. He's by far the more explosive, better back, than Zach Moss. He had 15 carries last week. If you think that this game is kind of shootout, or if you think that, Cincinnati potentially falls behind, I think he's a good option. And then the only other guy that I'm going to throw out there is kind of like a 1%er. I don't know. Maybe he's not 1%, but after the comments today, I'd assume he's going to be. The Patriots came out flat out today and said they're considering starting Antonio Gibson. Now, you would want to say okay, I might play Antonio Gibson because if Stevenson fumbles the ball one more time, he's going to the bench. However, we've seen in these situations a million times coach speak being used to motivate someone and get on someone's ass. And would this not be the perfect situation for Ramondre just to absolutely just rock the slate here? Because people are going to jump off of him all terrified and freaked out. And the Ramondre is going to flex on everyone and say, this is my job.
Yeah. I love the play just for all of those reasons, right? They're not going to bench him yet, but look, like you said, if he has another fumble, his ass is gone, right?
Well, he's definitely going to the bench. He might not be cut, but he's done playing.
Yeah, for a few weeks probably. But again, they're playing fucking Miami. They're playing them at home. Miami, they just lost their best defensive lineman, Jalen Phillips, to a knee injury. Not a season-long ending injury, but he's going to be out for a few weeks. At least I think they said 2 to 3 weeks with an MCL sprain.
Oh, no, he can't. They came out and said he's done for the year today.
Oh, so there you go. So, yeah. So, look, at 6,000 I've got him at 3% owned right now, but he's showing up in the optimal lineup 9% of the time. So you're getting some really good positive leverage on Ramondre right now. So people don't want to play him because of the coach speak, go for it. Play him.
Yeah.
I'm going to be playing him with you. That's another like way you can play one of those chalk running backs if you want to, and play Ramondre with them. No one's going to be playing Ramondre this week, so fire him up. Go for it.
Cool. Receivers up top. Who are you liking?
I mean, we just talked about the game. I don't know if I can do it, but like a 1% Tyreek Hill.
I can't do it, man. They can't complete passes, Jim.
So look, you wanted to play Snoop last week, okay? Maybe it was Joey. I don't know. One of you guys said you wanted to play Snoop.
I played him on Showdown because it was Showdown, and trust me, I was in second place chasing down a GPP, so I paid attention to that disgusting trash bin of a game, and it was everything as everybody was saying. It was so pathetic to watch that offense in motion. So I'm
going to play some of him. He's going to be 1% owned. So again, I don't have to play a ton of Tyreek. Normally you got to play 30 to 40% Tyreek Hill to get over what the field is playing him on. It's going to depend on the weather. If the weather is okay in New England, if it's not rainy or anything from remnants from that hurricane, I'm definitely going to play Tyreek Hill. But my favorite person from the top is just going to be Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
If he plays, I drafted a shitload of him in in best ball this year. I have him on almost every redraft team that I did this year. There's nowhere else that they're going to throw the ball to. Like, it's him and Wandale. And Wandale had 11 catches for 77 yards, right? They're not throwing the ball downfield to Wandale. He's the guy, right? And Seattle, we just saw their pass defense. It's not good, okay?
Yep.
So weather's going to be okay in Seattle this weekend. We've got no problems there or anything like that. So I'm definitely going to be going right back to Malik Neighbors. He's my favorite guy north of 7,000.
Okay.
Who do you have up there?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep riding the Nico Collins train. The guy is just
how can you not?
Unbelievable so far this year. There's not much more that needs to be said in a game that hopefully should produce a lot of points. I'll just take the guy who's been smashing all year and just move on to, and I'll get different with my other one or two pieces that I need to.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit surprised that he's only about 13 or 14% owned right now. But again, we kind of talked about it earlier. There's just not a lot of value this week. But with Tank Dell out, I think that you're just gonna have he's like my 1B this week. I'm gonna try and play Neighbors, a lot of Neighbors and Collins teams together. I really like that combination of both of those guys. I don't think a lot of people are going to play two more expensive wide receivers together this week. I think there's a lot of good like pay down options at wide receiver, and I think a lot of people are going to try and go there, and I might try and go the other way. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really like him up there. The other guy that I just really like, in addition to Neighbors, is I'll have a ton of Neighbors in DK Metcalf.
Okay.
Just watching him, man. The guy is shouldn't be a receiver. Like, the guy is a human tank that happens to run a 4.3 40. Like, he's completely unstoppable if Geno just gets him the ball. So I love that spot. Rolling down into the mid-range, dude, I know this sucks. I think you finally have convinced me to play him, and now I can't get away from him. He's a bad drug. But I'm just gonna continue playing Amari Cooper because I know he's got it in him. He had an 85-yard touchdown called back to some phantom holding call last week. That cost me a ton of money. But I'm gonna go back to it.
Just like I've always said, he's never going to be higher than 6,800, and he's never going to be lower than 6,000. And against Washington, that their defense isn't very good. I'm just going to keep playing him too. It's fine. All right. It is kind of like a bad drug type thing. But, if we're talking Cooper versus McLaurin right there next to each other, and then Deontay Johnson and McLaurin are both going to be in the mid-20s ownership range. So I'm fine with going to him. Yeah, I'm fine with going to Amari right there. And then Michael Pittman's getting a shitload of ownership. because, Joe Flacco can actually deliver receivers the ball, unlike Phony Tony, who apparently doesn't know how to throw, even though he plays quarterback. He's the new Tim Tebow of the NFL from the same college. Just can't. Those Florida quarterbacks, the guys in the swamp, they just love to run the ball, but when it comes to throwing the ball in the NFL, just not great. So yeah, I'm with you right there. In the mid range for me, I don't understand how Khalil Shakir is, number one, why he's 5,900. Number two, why he's going to be 1% owned. He is
I wonder if it's
main,
just the Q tag.
It might be the Q tag, but he played the whole game. So who cares if he's got a questionable tag, right? Like, he's going to play this week. Deontay Johnson's got a questionable tag on him, and everyone's just seemingly flocking to him. But Khalil Shakir at 5,900, it's just an easy click for me, right? Especially he's getting smashed between ownership. Brian Thomas is kind of starting to creep up there. Michael Pittman's plus 20% ownership. I'm more than fine with getting to Shakir right there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. I called it last week a little bit. I played about 50-50 because I just, I knew Deontay was in a good spot, but if that meant he was in a good spot, I was trying to bet on the rookie Xavier Legette. He had a really good game last week. I'm going to go back to that 5,100, especially again if everyone's going to keep rolling to Deontay. I'm not saying he's not going to get his, but there's a very strong shot that Legette is the one who outproduces him again at cheaper price tag as well as less ownership. So I'm going to go to him again. And then I don't have too much value, so I'll let you hit on that quick and we'll kind of move it along. But I told you guys Sunday morning, I was like, well, my highest owned player is Trey Tucker, and that's going to be a very interesting day. Luckily, he came through thanks to Joe making that call. Now he's probably wide receiver 1 in Vegas because Devontae Adams is not going to be there anymore.
And look who they're playing. They're playing Denver. Who does Denver have on it? Pat Surtain Jr.
Yeah.
Low key. I don't know why he's not being talked about more, but every major receiver he plays, he just shuts them the fuck down. Now, it was raining last week in New Jersey, so, I get it, but it doesn't matter. He's going to get Jacoby Myers. They're even going to probably play him on Brock Bowers when Bowers splits out. Trey Tucker at 4,100 does everything for them. He takes handoffs on sweeps. They're actively trying to get him the ball, and I don't understand why he's not garnering more ownership. It's been announced today. The last ownership, projections were, this afternoon, and Devontae Adams has been ruled out already. So at 6% owned, I don't care if he's 6% owned at 4,100. He's a legitimate part of the offense, right? Yep. I think you just have to force him into your lineups. And, it's one of those things where, I'm totally with you. I think this week, too, everyone's been trying to play Greg Dortch every single week. This is the week to play Greg Dortch. The Niners have problems with the small, fast wide receivers. Their corners played well against bigger, more strong receivers, which is why I was a little confused why last week New England didn't try and use Demario Douglas a little bit more over the middle of the field and some of the out routes and stuff like that. But
Greg Dortch was open, but Jacoby Myers just can't 100%. Operate, so I don't really know what New England's doing. But
if you want to play, this week is the week to play Dortch. So I'll be playing some Dortch this week. I like him over Michael Wilson this week. Michael Wilson, is obviously same price or $100 less. Kind of the same ownership, but this week is the week to play Dortch. Going down a little further, I don't have too many people. I guess
give me your favorite play below 4K.
If Shakir is out, it's going to be Matt Collins at 3,100.
That's a good play.
If Shakir's out, that is going to be my favorite play. If Shakir is in, my favorite play down here is going to be Olamide Zaccheaus.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Not attractive. But if you go back and look at his usage last week, he dominated the usage. And he's kind of, for whatever reason, I thought Noah Brown was going to emerge as kind of like the second option within that Washington offense, but it's Zacchaeus. He was there all of camp. He had 6 catches for 85 yards last week on 6 targets, caught 100% of his targets in a blowout. Okay, so he's definitely going to be the receiving option that's out there. I like Noah Brown, but if you really need that big of a punt down there on a guy, if Shakir is in, then he was going to probably be my punt option. So,
okay,
tight ends.
Yeah, where are you going up top?
I mean, I think I'm just going to go back to Kittle as long as he's in. 4% owned. Smashed again last week. Again, as far as tight ends go for smashing, 14.5 points, 4 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Like, I don't know really what more you could want from tight end this week. My other guy up there is going to be a guy that I'm going to only be playing based on his ownership in my Bill stacks, which is Dalton Kincaid. He's at 17% owned right now. I don't really care. I'm going to play Kincaid, especially because I do like Josh Allen. And I really like getting different and just playing maybe an Allen, James Cook, and Dalton Kincaid lineup. I would be perfectly fine playing a lineup like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like Kittle. I like Bowers up top. If I'm going down low, Tucker Kraft is probably going to be pretty popular this week, but he had 9 freaking targets last week. So at 3,500, he fits a lot of pieces. The other guy, you could look to Brenton Strange. I have a weird feeling about this Jaguars-Colts game. I know we didn't talk about it in the stacks, but I just have a feeling that this is going to be one of those two kind of not great teams. Jonathan Taylor's out. Could this game pop off? And if so, a cheap Brenton Strange is there. But the other guy, if you're looking for just a complete bottom of the barrel pay down option, I played him last week. The guy's very consistent at 6 to 7 points for you. So he's not going to break the slate. But Eric All Jr., the backup tight end for the Bengals, catches 4 balls for 30 yards every week. And if he happens to score, he's going to get 13, 14 points.
He's getting a lot of run. He's out there. He's running. I think he ran on his snaps. He ran, 60% of his snaps. He ran a route. He's not a blocking tight end.
No. But he's 2,700. So again, if you need a price savings, and you could just get me a clean 6 to 8 points, we've seen the tight end position be terrible this year. Guys up here like Mark Andrews and Cole Kmet. Hell, even Bowers, those guys have disappointed in games. And so I'll save the money. So that's all I got.
I'm fine with that. Let's move on to defense here.
All right. I can't say the Patriots because they're the obvious one.
No, I'm not playing the Patriots.
Okay.
Maybe I am. They're going to be
in Miami.
1% owned.
How's that possible? Okay, I was expecting 15 to 20.
The highest owned defenses of the week right now are as follows: Carolina at 34%, New York Giants at 14%, and Arizona Cardinals at 24%.
Oh, okay, so people are just paying all the way down. So
yeah, okay. So because there's no value anywhere on the slate this week, everyone is just building their lineup and automatically clicking the cheapest defense.
Okay.
So if
I may lock New England into 80% of my lineups if that's the case.
100%. Normally,
I'm just going to start every lineup with New England's defense.
There's no reason not to. So normally I do the same thing, Vinny, as I go all the way down and all right, how cheap, can I justify playing? And sometimes I don't even care. I just build my lineup and then okay, I'll put in whatever defense fits. But this week where everybody is going to the defense for the value, I'm definitely going to be playing the Patriots at home. And look, I don't need a whole bunch of points out of them, right? I just need like 8 to 9 points. And I mean, at 9 points, that's 3x. That's completely fine for me. At freaking 2% ownership, 2%.
Yeah. And let's be honest,
mean,
I'm not going to go as far as, the college football Twitter world where, people are talking about stuff in like 5-layer cheesy burritos where the sun don't shine. But like, if Miami blasts New England for minus points here, I feel like that's like, I would do something crazy.
If you wanted to make one of those bets, drinking a KFC bucket full of Woodford Reserve, if you wanted to fill up the boot with tequila and drink it out of a straw, yeah, you could do that. You could also play the Broncos, who are the best points per dollar defense on the entire slate and are going to get 3% owned versus the Raiders, who are just in complete shambles, right? Okay. It's in Denver too. Yeah, I'm just playing the Patriots right now. I'm just writing down a note to myself. Patriots and
no matter
Denver only. That's it. Those are the two teams I'm putting in every single one of my lineups. They're both the same price. So I'm just going to split 50-50 down the middle, and whichever one of those ends up better, so be it. I'll go with that.
Okay. Bold prediction. I've got one. I got a spicy one here.
Okay, you go first then. If you're raring to go.
All right. I just kind of hinted it at the tight end. It didn't really hit me until we started really talking through things.
Okay.
Whatever you do, if you're listening to this stream right now, play a full game stack of this Colts-Jaguars game. I have a feeling something crazy happens here. Like the total on the game is 46, which is pretty outrageous to begin with. But like,
so let me do something here.
If Flacco starts, I like it even more. But like, I don't really care. I'm going full on. I think this game shoots way out. I'm hoping I don't I think the over is safe here. This could be special teams, touchdowns, defense.
So here it is. Here it is too. It's Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, and it's Kirk. Okay, and then on the run back, pick whoever you want with the Colts. So you can pick Pittman.
It's got to be Pittman and probably Downs, or like Pierce or something like that. But
I like Pittman and Sermon because I
don't like Sermon. I don't,
but I will play Sermon against the Jags in the full game stack.
I'm just telling you, and I'm telling you right now, if it's Waka Flacco, I'm playing Joe Flacco this week in that game stack.
Okay.
So,
well, that's definitely a way to get away from to dilute your Michael Pittman ownership. Are you going to play your fucking guy Granson then?
Yeah, I might. He's really cheap. He's involved. He's the guy.
Well, that's a hell of a bold call.
I mean, I'm not going to play like 8 guys from this game, but I'm going to have a full 5-6 man stack here.
Yeah, I'm probably going to play 2 full game stacks and just try and get different with it on either side. But I mean, okay, I like that. I don't hate that. That's for sure.
All right, my laptop is dying. Hit me with your bold call, my friend.
My bold call. I mean, I feel like it's not that bold. I mean, I will go with a guy we really haven't even talked about on the stream. I'll say Debo goes for 30 plus.
Debo. I can see that.
It.
I can always see that.
My top stack, I think that I'm really interested in playing is going to be the Bills.
Okay.
And I might play it a full 4-man onslaught. You can run back with Nico Collins, which is really something that I like a lot. If Joe Mixon plays, I'll definitely add him into that and make it a full 5 or 6 man stack of that entire game. So what about you, your favorite stack?
Green Bay. I love the facts. Good game environment, indoors, coming off of a loss. And I love the 125 afternoon hammer. Coming in hot. So
worked last week, so let's go back to it again this week. The late afternoon hammers have been nice. So
as always. So
all right.
All right. You got a shout out from your boy. I flashed it earlier. Bing,
Bing.
321 saying what's up. Thank you, Bing. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck to everyone this week.
Like, subscribe.
Yes.
Showdown will also be out. I'm recording it right after this for Thursday night. So stay tuned for that.
Rock and roll.
Nope, not yet.